what's up? It's Karen San Diego. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you are new here, I lost over 100 pounds with VSG surgery, and as a result of that, I was left with a significant amount of loose skin on my arms. I'm going to insert a video right here for reference as to what I'm referring to as far as the loose skin on my arms. But this is something that was an insecurity of mine for my entire life. From when I was bigger to even at points in my life where I had lost and gained weight. My arms were always a part of my body that I was always extremely insecure about. So even the fact that I'm sitting here talking to y'all wearing this sleeveless shirt is such a non-scale victory for me, because that has always been something that I was insecure about. But if you read the title of this video, you know that I recently did something about it. And by did something about it, I mean I got a brachioplasty, also known as an arm lift. So a brachioplasty is the medical term for an arm lift where the loose skin on the arm is removed surgically. Also want to mention that I will be showing my scars in this video, so just go ahead and stay tuned towards the end of this video to see what my arms look like completely. And before I get into it, I also want to address something that I get a lot of comments about, which is like, why didn't you just work out in the gym and lose the loose skin that way? And to just answer that question right away, it's simply not possible. So working out in the gym is something that if you follow me, you know I do that. I consider myself a gym girly. I love working out. However, when it comes to loose skin, you cannot get rid of loose skin in the gym. You can, however, improve the appearance of loose skin through building muscle, but depending on how much loose skin you would have to build a lot of muscle in order to actually completely fill in that skin to the point where the skin isn't visible or like visually improved. And for me, that's not a goal that I had for my body. I don't want super muscular arms, and the amount of loose skin that I had, working out simply was not going to get rid of it. Although I must say that once I started my fitness journey, the loose skin on my arms, the appearance did improve, but it wasn't gone. And my goal wasn't just to get it to be improved. My goal was to get the skin gone completely, and the only way to do that is surgically. Now that that's out of the way, I want to also get into a little bit of things about an arm lift and some of the other options that I explored before I actually went through with the brachioplasty. So one of the options that I explored before the brachioplasty was getting liposuction in the arm. I actually did like a video where I was talking about the fact that I went to Sono Bello to try to see if I could get a arm lipo instead of doing the whole surgery, because I wanted to explore all of my options before like completely deciding. And when I went there, they let me know that because of the amount of skin that I had, it wasn't going to work in the way that I wanted to. They would just be able to remove the extra fat that was in that area, but an arm liposuction wasn't going to do anything about the skin, so I didn't go with that option. Another option would have been an armpit type of arm lift, where they just kind of make an incision in the armpit and pull the skin up instead of giving the full scar, which is what I have. And that also was not an option for me because of the amount of skin that I had. They said that with the amount of skin that I had, it would have started to droop again. So that surgery is also for someone who had less loose skin than I have. That being said, if you're someone who just has like bigger arms but doesn't have a lot of loose skin, you might want to explore one of those two options before jumping to the full arm lift. So now let's go ahead and get into the details of my actual arm lift. I do have a whole other video talking about before the arm lift, all the breakdown of that. I talk about how much it costs. I talk about who my doctor is. I talk about how I chose my doctor and everything that goes into the pre-op stages of an arm lift. I'll link that video below, and also it's the video right before this one on my channel. So if you're curious about those things, go ahead and watch that video for that information. This video is going to be more so about the post-op. So about my surgery, I had my surgery in New Jersey at Penn Medicine Princeton Medical Center with my doctor, Dr Smita Ramanadham. She is amazing. Once I show you like what my arms look like for real, and lift them up, you're gonna see like why everybody should be going to her. She's amazing. She did an amazing job on my arms, and I highly recommend her. Also at that place where I went, Princeton Medical Center, they were great, very accommodating, made me feel very comfortable. I had an all-female surgical staff, which was also pretty cool. And everything went by super quick, but I'll get into that in a second. But I arrived at Princeton Medical Center, and once I got there, I arrived with my daughter and my husband. They were not able to come into the actual like surgery area with me, but they had like a family waiting room for them to sit and wait in, so that they were there for when I needed to be picked up. So they waited in that area. They brought me in. I think I arrived there at like 7 a.m. or something like that. And by like 7:30, they were already bringing me back in. So that went super quick. Once I got into the surgery area where they're like prepping you for surgery, the nurses came over, you know, let me know what to expect. My doctor came. She did like the drawing with the marker on my arms to like prep me for surgery. I spoke with the anesthesiologist and just like got into my gown. All of that also went pretty quick. I want to say all in all, once I got moved back there, I was probably there for about an hour before I actually went in for surgery. And for the surgery, I was under, I believe it's called general anesthesia. Yeah, where like they put you to sleep. So I was asleep. They rolled me in. I believe like someone like cracked a joke or something like that. Like I remember saying something to the anesthesiologist and then I was out. Next thing I know, I was waking up from recovery. And then once I woke up, the nurse came, checked on me. She had me pee. They gave me like a bedpan thing to pee on, but for some reason I could not pee in that. So we stood up, I went to the bathroom and peed. And then she said once I peed, I could go. So like literally I peed and then she was calling my husband to come and get me to take me home. Like it was literally like boom, 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 quick. Before I left the hospital, they sent prescriptions to my pharmacy. That was a pain medication and an anti-nausea medication. I wasn't nauseous, but they suggested that I take the anti-nausea medication for the first 3 days, regardless of if I was nauseous or not, because that was going to help prevent the nausea from happening. I did take the anti-nausea medication the whole time, although I never was nauseous. So let's talk about the first day home. So first day home, I was in bandages, kind of walking like a mummy. I'm going to go get the bandages to show you. Actually, I have a picture. So I'm going to show you, this is what I looked like in the bandages that I'm referring to. But I was in bandages. I came home. The first thing I did was go upstairs into my bedroom and knock out. The pain medication that they gave me just made me really sleepy. Like, yes, it took away the pain, but also made me sleep. So I came home, took a pain med, knocked out for a couple hours, woke up. At that point, I was hungry, so I went downstairs and I could not like bend my arm to be able to feed myself. So Chad had to help feed me. I think even Ryan was helping at this point feed me since I couldn't bring my hand to my mouth to eat. And then the first day I pretty much spent it on the couch. Every now and then getting up to kind of just like walk back and forth in the living room because I was suggested to do that. But first day, no pain, mostly because I was taking the pain meds and still the anesthesia was still kind of in my system. So I wasn't really feeling any pain on that first day. For sleeping on the first day, other than the first time I went to bed, which was in my actual bed, I had pillows on either side of me, and my bed is a recliner. So we reclined the bed up a little bit and then put pillows under my arms so that my arms were elevated. They suggested that the arms be elevated above the heart. So I was like that in the bed. But then I realized that the couch was a little bit more comfortable, so I started taking my naps on the couch. Same thing with my arms slightly elevated to keep them up. And that was day 1. Now day 2 and 3 is where the pain started to kick in because the anesthesia was wearing off at this point. So every couple of hours I would have to take a pain med because I was feeling pain. And I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain for day 2 and 3 was probably about an 8. At this point, still not really able to fully bend my arms to feed myself, so my husband was still feeding me. And for my diet, I was eating a lot of pineapple. I was drinking a protein shake every single day because protein helps with recovery, so does pineapple. And then just eating like whatever I would normally eat. So I think I had like some chicken. I think we got like honey grow one of those days, but making sure to get lots of protein and eat lots of pineapple. Eating was kind of annoying at this point because I'm an independent type of person. So I didn't like that I had to be fed. So because of that, I didn't eat as much as I typically would just because I didn't want to keep having to be fed. And then also I was in a lot of pain. So I kept taking the pain meds, and every time I took the pain meds, I would fall asleep. So from day 1 to 3, I spent a lot of that time in and out of sleep. Oh, I also want to add in day 2 is when I was able to shower. The shower was not fun. It kind of stained a little bit. So it was kind of like a get in, get out, quickly try to soap myself up type of situation. So my husband had to shower me because I really couldn't move my arms to shower. Also want to mention, and this is a lot of information, and y'all know this is a TMI, yes. This is a TMI channel, but on day one, literally as soon as I got home from the hospital, I got my period. Which was frustrating because I could not like properly care for myself in that way, so shout out to Chad, and on my period, the best way, if this happens to you, if you get the surgery and get your period like I did, adult diapers, like the kind you use after pregnancy, life's like those, that's the best. That's the best option that you're gonna have. Because when I tell you I was pissed, like why of all days, today, the day I have no use of my arms, I get my period? But Chad held it down, MVP. And this also might be too much information, but as far as using the bathroom, peeing, you can kind of maneuver, but to you do number 2, not until at least day 5, maybe even more, like day 7, can you really reach behind you to wipe back there. Chad's an MVP. Let me just say Chad, MVP. Also want to mention that I did not have any drains or anything like that in my arms. So that also contributed to me being able to shower so early on day 2. When I showered, I was able to take off the wraps and shower and then put them right back on. So at that point, that was the first time I also saw my arms without the wraps on. That was about day 2. And then after that, every time I showered, I would just take the wraps off, shower, get out the shower, and put the wraps directly back on. For like the first 2 weeks, I wasn't that comfortable without the wraps on. Like, I don't know, like if you've ever had surgery, like even if you had like a C-section, sometimes like it can feel like everything's about to just fall out or something like that. Like there was a lot of pressure. So it kind of felt better with my arms wrapped during that time. So I kind of was quick to want to put the wraps on when I got back in the shower. By day 4, so I'm gonna lump this together, so day 4 all the way to day 7, so the first week I no longer was on pain meds. At this point I was able to bend my arm enough to feed myself. At that point I was still drinking the protein shakes every day, but just was back to my normal programming as far as eating and being able to feed myself, still getting up and just kind of walking around the house just to make sure I was keeping myself moving, and still sitting on the couch for most of the day with my arms elevated. Still sleeping in the bed with the bed pretty elevated with the pillows like that as well. And that was week 1. So yes, so week 2, I was no longer on pain meds. I had stopped taking the pain meds around day 3. By week 2, no pain meds. I was not in any pain at all. Still a little bit of discomfort, only because I still was kind of walking with my arms, not all the way up, but kind of just like, let me stand up and show you. Kind of just like that, like not straight forwards, but like just kind of up a little bit. It was kind of awkward to have my arms touch my sides, so I felt kind of awkward while walking, and because of that I had my arms up a little bit, which was fine because it wasn't pain. Like I wasn't in any like actual pain week 2, just uncomfortable. Also week 2 I returned back to work. My work is not one that requires me to do a lot of heavy lifting or anything like that. And like everybody that I work with knew that I got surgery. So everybody was really open to helping me with my bags, or like if there was anything to be lifted, like they were like, what are you doing? Like, do not pick that up. Like they were very accommodating with that. So I was able to work, I work as a recruiter. So like there was nothing that needed to be lifted. So I was able to go to work. I do majority of my job sitting down. So I was fine at work. I wasn't in any pain, and I was able to operate and do my job as normal from week 2. Now, if you have a job that requires like any sort of heavy lifting or any lifting at all, because you can't lift anything more than like 10 pounds, definitely would say that you might need to not work for the first 6 weeks, because you can't lift anything over 10 pounds until 6 weeks. Or you would have to get some sort of accommodation from your job that would allow you to come to work but just not lift anything. But if you're like me and have a job that doesn't require any lifting, you can definitely go to work after the first couple days. I'm editing and realized I forgot to mention that on the scar itself, there was this like really thin surgical tape that's on there that needs to fall off on its own. If you look real closely, I'm going to get close to the camera just now. You can see the tape, and it's really just there to like protect the scar. So it's like holding the scar in place, and then eventually it just kind of comes off and falls off on its own. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the video when I get into like week 3. But you can see as I get closer here, like what that tape actually looks like. And then everything else you're seeing is like dried blood and the blue marker that was on the scar as well. So yes, back to week 2. I was still wearing the wrap bandages, going to work. Everything was fine, no pain, just discomfort. So yeah, week 2 was actually pretty uneventful, to be honest. I did like my own box braids. Like I did a DIY box braids before surgery. So like my hair stayed in the same messy bun for that entire week. So I didn't need to really do my hair. That was out of sight, out of mind. I highly recommend if you are getting surgery to do something with your hair that doesn't require you to manipulate it in any way. So I was fine with my hair. As far as sleeping, I slept fine. I had to sleep on my back the entire time. Only now am I starting to be able to like move around. Slept on my back, arms elevated, and that was still the same from the first week. And it sounds uncomfortable, but it actually wasn't uncomfortable at all. And I slept fine. Like there was no issues with sleeping. All right, week 3. This is where things start to change a little bit. By week 3, I was able to take the bandages off for longer periods of time. So I would take them off sometimes while I was at work so that I could wear a shirt that was like a little bit more short sleeve instead of having to wear long sleeves all the time. And then when I got back in the car, I would wrap them up, or sometimes I would keep the bandages with me at work and wrap them back up throughout the day. Because I'm a recruiter and I interview people, I would tend to take the bandages off while I was interviewing someone and then put them back on when I was done with the interview, only because like it was just kind of weird because the bandages go from down here all the way up. So it was just kind of weird to interview somebody like that. So I would take them off, do the interview, and then bandage them up when the interview was done. During this time, I also was able to take the incline off the bed. So where the bed was like inclined and I was sleeping like that, I was able to then put the bed back down and still keep the pillows next to me. So my arms were still elevated, but the bed wasn't inclined anymore, and I was able to sleep comfortably that way. Also wanted to note that the entire time up until I think week 4, Chad slept on a blow-up bed in the room next to me on the floor. Because of the incline, he wasn't comfortable that way. So at this point, Chad was also able to come back into the bed since actually, no, he did not come back in on week 3. He came back in on week 4. But at this point, the bed was no longer down, but I had a lot of pillows around me, which is why he was still on the floor, in order to be able to keep my arms elevated. I also wanted to mention, I forgot to mention my wedding rings. So with the swelling, my arms were swollen, but my hands were swollen too. So I had to take the rings off for surgery, but I actually could not put them back on until week 3. Like my hands were so swollen that I couldn't get my wedding rings past like right here until like week 3 to be able to wear them again. Like week 3 was also around the time where I got sick and tired of those box braids because I had did them myself. You know, they were starting to look a little raggedy, not gonna lie. So I had to take them out. And at this point, I still could not wash my hair for myself. So I went to get my hair done. Highly recommend that too. Use this as an opportunity to pamper yourself. Since you can't really use your arms like that, I took that as a real good opportunity to go get myself pampered by somebody else. So I got my hair done. I went to Dry Bar in Summit, New Jersey, and they were absolutely great. Got my little blowouts, flat iron, you know, everything was good with that. Still had my arms wrapped, but got my hair done that way. And because my hair was straight, I was able to just throw it in ponytails or leave it out. And that was fine. I was able to move my arms at this point by week 3 about like this. So I was able to like comb my hair. I just couldn't like completely raise it to be able to like do more. But like this was about the range of motion between keeping my arms down, and I was able to go like this. So I was able to comb my hair at that point. So the silk press, or whatever you call it, was the best move at that point. Towards the end of week 3, the tape on my arm started to come off on its own. Like I wasn't pulling it or anything. But as it started to do that, I noticed that there was a piece right here, and I'll put a picture right here, that started to slightly open. Like a little bit of the scar started to open. And in my mind, that was because earlier that day at work, mindlessly, like I was doing too much. Like I wasn't lifting anything, but I was doing too much like around the office that I feel like I kind of like overworked my arms. So when the tape started peeling up, I noticed that there was a little bit of like open skin there. Like my incision had opened like just a little bit. Like it was like this much, but it was like that. So I messaged my doctor. She has an app that I can like text her in. So I text her, sent her a picture, and she told me to take off the rest of the tape, clean it, and then wrap my arms back. So that's what I did. And then within like 2 days, it had completely closed back up, thankfully. But I was like terrified. I was like, oh my God, like, did I mess everything up? Like, I thought, like, did I mess Like, I was like really freaking out, but it was fine. She said that like small openings like that is completely normal. But I was definitely freaking out, like thinking I had like completely ruined it, but I didn't. Like, it was fine. Within a few days, that was good. Just more scary than anything. But after that, like, I was able to take off all of the tape on both arms. And if you are someone who needs to take it up, like, the tape was already coming up on its own, but the way that I was able to manually take it off, because I had to because of the opening, was by getting in the shower and under the water, just like slowly lifting. And it took a long time. It probably took me like half an hour in the shower, just like because I was babying it. Like, you don't want to just like pull. You want to kind of let it just come off on its own. So I was just like under the water, going really slow until it was off on both arms, and then the tape was up. Prior to that, probably like at around like week 2 is when the tape started to lift up on its own, like just like in the ends. But because of the fact that it had started to rip over here, which is why she wanted me to just take it completely off. And like I said, that was at the end of week 3, almost week 4 is when like I actually took the tape off. At this point, still no pain, just slight discomfort because my arms were still swollen. They are still swollen now to an extent, but they were more swollen at that point. So anytime I started to feel that they were swelling a bit, I would just wrap them back up. And we were fine, but still no pain. Overall, like, the pain of this surgery really lasted for like 2 days. Like, the pain level, like I said, was about an 8 at that point, but really did not last long. It's more of like an uncomfortable thing. And then I also want to mention that my arms, like, I could only raise them this way, but I also couldn't like fully stretch them straight like this. Because I had like a limited range of motion. I had spoke to my doctor about it because I was concerned about it at first, because I would feel like whenever I would go like this with my arm, it would feel like a really pulling tension in this part of my arm, which was really just like the scar tissue that was forming was just really tight and like needed to loosen up. But I had a really limited, like, I couldn't go like this, and I couldn't raise my arms higher than this still at that 4-week point. But here's the thing. Week 4, I started feeling really good and really comfortable. So the thing about feeling good, not feeling any pain, not feeling too limited, is you get full of yourself. You get full of yourself. The problem with that is I started to forget sometimes. So I would go reach to lift something, even though I should not be lifting that. And I was at work, and Chad and Ryan were dropping me off because I couldn't carry my bag, so they used to bring me upstairs into the office. And Ryan was running around, and she ran into a wall and bumped her head. And like instinctively, because I heard her cry, I went and I picked her up. I picked her up and immediately was like, oh, and put her back down. But yeah, I was fine. I was fine. There was no issues or anything like that. But I did entirely too much and was forgetting. So after that, I was very cautious about actually not lifting anything. Moving on to week 5. Week 5 is where things started to feel a little bit more normal. By week 5, I could do this with my arms, and I was able to raise my arms completely over my head, be able to like reach for things in cabinets, all of that stuff completely was good by week 5. Week 5. Also, I started to feel less swollen. I switched from the bandages at this point to like a compression garment. I'll link that in my Amazon storefront so that you can see it. I think I also have a video, so I'll put that right here so you can see what the compression garment looked like. I couldn't wear that before because it was really uncomfortable to get on. But at this point, I was able to put the compression garment on, and I wore that only for really about a week. Then that brings us to week 6, which is this current week. And week 6, completely comfortable. I can keep my arms completely down. I can lift my arms completely up. Also, I wanted to mention as far as scar care. So between week 5 and week 6 is when I started using a silicone scar gel. On the first day, I tried the scar tape. And while like it looked cute, like I found one that was my skin color, but like taking it off felt like pulling at the scar, and I didn't like that, so I never used the scar tape again. After that, I started using a scar gel. I'm gonna link the one that I use in my storefront, but you don't have to use that one. There's so many different ones. The one I use, a friend of mine who works at a plastic surgery center gave me that one, so I didn't pay for it, so that's why I got that one. It's more pricey than some of the other ones, so if you don't want to use that one, you don't have to, but that one so far has been really good. I think it's already been helping. She also gave me like a thing that like a moisturizer for around the scar, because originally it was like really ashy looking like around it, like it was peeling, and that really helps. I'll link that as well. It's also on Amazon, also a little bit pricier than other things that you'd be able to find, so buy whatever works for you. But I would highly recommend the scar gel over the scar tape, just because of the way the scar tape pulls at the skin. I just personally would avoid that. And then also in terms of scar care, when I had first took off that surgical tape, there was a lot of like black residue around the scar, which was just like the glue. So to get that off, that actually took a really long time to go away. But I just, soapy water, just like when I bathed myself, like I didn't use a washcloth or anything to scrub on there just for the sake of the scar. But I would just like have soapy water soap up the area and just kind of like use my thumb to massage it. After like a week of doing that, the glue did finally go away, but you just want to avoid scrubbing it and just be patient and kind of baby that area just to avoid any like irritation or opening of your scar. And since we are in week 6, this is where I'm going to show you what these scars are looking like. So I have these videos, I'm going to play it over. So this is what my arms are looking like. I'm going to turn a few times so that you're able to see. And I'm just going to talk while you look at the images of what my arms look like. At this week, at week 6, I do feel completely back to normal. I'm able to lift my arms completely over my head. My range of motion has went back to what it was like before. I am cleared to work out now at this point, although I have not like actually gone to the gym yet. I think I'm gonna wait until next week just to make sure like I'm good. And even when I go, I'm gonna take it really like easy. Like I'm not about to be lifting heavy weights or anything like that, but probably starting off with some cardio and then moving into like lifting like really light baby weights and just kind of building up my tolerance that way as to not overdo it. I'm honestly in love with my results, and I get a lot of questions from people who are just like, oh, like, are you not like worried about the scar? Are you gonna get a tattoo to cover the scar? Are you going to do something with the scar? And like, I'm not concerned about the scar at all. I think for being as early out as I am, I think my scars look amazing. But even if they didn't, honestly, I think that it's fine. Like I would rather have a scar than have the loose hanging skin, and that's just me personally. I think when it comes to our bodies, we have to make sure that we are always doing whatever feels best for us and not being so concerned with what other people think we should be doing with our bodies. For me, my arms have just always been an insecurity of mine. I got surgery because my weight was something that has always bothered me. And I wanted to do something about it, something that was going to last, right? And I'm talking about VSG surgery for that. I had tried everything. I tried everything everybody says you should do to lose weight, and none of those things worked for me. VSG is what worked for me. So I did what worked for me in that aspect of things. And when it came to my arms, once again, I tried the things that people told me to do. I lifted weights, you know? I used the creams and the lotions. I did all of those things, but that's not what worked for me. So arm lift is what worked for me. And because of that, like I was aware that there was going to be a scar. And in my opinion, I think my scar looks pretty good. And the fact that I'm only 6 weeks post-op, I think that it has the potential to get even better or not. Either way, I'm extremely happy with my results and I don't regret anything about this surgery. I think that overall this experience was better than what I had like prepped for in my head. I anticipated this being a lot more like difficult of a journey than it was. I will say that like that first week was definitely rough, but looking at the whole picture, like nothing compared to what I was expecting at all. And of course, I want to mention that like everybody's journey is going to be different. When it comes to surgeries, like no two people are going to have the same exact experience, but my experience has been extremely positive. So I'm just extremely grateful for that. If you're interested in getting this surgery, I have my Amazon storefront linked below, and I put some things in there that were really useful for me on this journey, and some things that even if I didn't use it yet, some things that I think would be useful. So I have like an arm lift section in my Amazon storefront if there's some things that you want to buy to prepare for your surgery. My best advice if you are someone who is looking to get an arm lift is to make sure for at least the first week that you have a solid support system. If you are someone who doesn't have that, I know there are like medical places that you can go and stay there. Like you might want to plan for that just so that you know you have help, because honestly, your ability to use your arms is very limited and it's very difficult to do anything without your arms. So I personally, for that first week, I don't see how I would have been able to have a healthy recovery without help. And that's my husband, my daughter who was helping too. My mom even came a few times to help with Ryan to make this easier for me. But without like a really good support system, I think this surgery would be extremely difficult. So going to one of those like medical, it's not like a medical hotel, but I know there's places that you can go and be taken care of there. I'd recommend that if you don't have a strong support system, because this, like, you can't do anything without your arms. So you really do need help for this. I also want to do like a Q&A video. I'm considering doing it with my doctor or by myself. I'm not sure. But regardless, like if you have any more questions about the surgery, go ahead and leave them below. I also have a poll on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure that you are. I've been posting content about this the entire time on Instagram and TikTok. That's just easier for short form, just to get it out there, especially while like I'm recovering. And it wasn't easy for me to like do the whole setup for YouTube. I was posting on Instagram and TikTok, and those videos are still there. So if you missed that because you don't follow me on those platforms, go ahead and make sure you are following me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm telling you that Instagram usually gets things first, but between Instagram and TikTok, that's where I'd be at most of the time. But I am committing to being more present here on YouTube as well moving forward, because I know a lot of you don't have those platforms. Which is why if you missed any of the information that I've already shared on Instagram or TikTok, make sure that you're leaving a question below so that I can answer it in my Q&A video that I'm going to do about the arm lift experience as a whole, so I can just have all like those questions in one place, easy to access. All right, so that is it for my arm lift updates. I am so happy that I was able to do this for myself. Like, I know I've said that already, but I just want to say that again, that like my new journey to finding myself after VSG surgery is really about just going after my dream life. If there's anything that's bothering me, I'm going to fix it. If there's anything I want, I'm going to get it. If there's anything I want to do, I'm going to do it. And just really having that mentality of just knowing that whatever I want for myself is possible, and like I don't have to live in a state of just constantly feeling sorry for myself and sad for myself. Like I really feel like I'm just like transforming into the version of myself that I always wanted to be, and this was just one of those insecurities that I felt like was holding me back. And yes, 100% it's a vanity thing. Like this isn't, an arm lift isn't about health, it's about vanity. And as somebody who has been deeply insecure for most of my life, I think it's okay to do things strictly for the vanity of it, strictly because it's gonna make you feel more confident, because it's gonna make you feel more beautiful, or whatever it is. I feel like these scars, whether they go away or not, it's a badge of honor still, just like my loose skin was, because I worked hard to be at the place where I could get the arm lift. And I'm talking about that as far as the reason I had to get an arm lift was the amount of weight that I lost. And VSG or not, however you lose weight, losing an extreme amount of weight that leaves you with loose skin is a huge accomplishment. Don't let anybody take that away from you, regardless of how you choose to lose weight. It is a huge accomplishment. And these scars are just like, it's what's left over after all of that work that I put in to get to the place that I'm at in my journey. And I'm proud of myself for getting here. I'm proud of myself for having the surgery and doing something about the thing that has made me the most insecure. And now I want to use this and use this newfound confidence that I have to really just like step into the world as the best version of myself and work from everything that I've ever wanted. Like I just want it to just be a sign to myself of just being that girl. Like I don't know how else to say it, but just being that girl and just chasing everything that I've ever wanted in life. And that may sound weird to say in reference to an arm lift, but if you get it, you get it. But yeah, that's it. If you have enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. All of those things help the algorithm know this is a video that you liked. And if you would like to see more videos from me, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification button. And until next time, I'll see you in my next video.
Where in the world is Karen San Diego? From BK to Belly, it's anywhere she say so. She changing your life, can see it straight through her eyes.